Hey, hi man, you wanna sit down man? Funny how you don't get me though, you wanna hold me close like chill man. I hear they do for my life, in Tebe Ibo, my years and get
and welcome to the AARENA, the podcast of ALESA, where we discuss issues of accountability, governance, and human rights. Today we're at the Global Democracy Coalition Africa Regional Forum in Nairobi, Kenya. And here with me I have Enya Eche and Honorable Ruth Kangwa, who've just participated in a panel discussion on cross-regional dialogue, Unscripted. So I'm going to ask them to tell us a bit about what they were discussing there, on the work they are doing, and the key ideas they were presenting for us as we try to push forward the notion of democracy at a time when democracy is in recession globally. I'm going to start with you, Ruth. You work a lot around empowering young women in politics. Can you please just in brief tell us what is the missing ingredient in our democracy and what can we do to improve things?
I think the key critical ingredient, I think before getting into what it is the fact that the work that I do in Zambia, now expanding out with Girls Gone Political, is enhancing the meaningful representation and the participation of young people. And the key ingredient that we have picked out in most of our grassroots work is the fact that people understand what they would want to do, right? But how to do it is where the gap is in terms of political literacy, civic literacy, but ensuring that once they are equipped with information, how are they meaningfully then participating in democratic processes? And this is a critical work that Girls Gone Political is doing now. We've co-authored a book called She Votes, She Leads. And this has broken down the constitution, electoral laws. It has broken down what democracy is. But even simple things as the ward level and the roles of members of parliament, councillors, and the mayoral. And this is now taken me a step forward. I'm a legal profession. I'm a lawyer by profession, and this has taken me forward now to ensure that my legal background is able to contribute in terms of human rights, governance, but as well as democratic space.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for that. And you said something about part of the challenge being that democracy is seen a lot as being about elections, but in actual fact, it should be more than that. Can you please unpack that for us?
Democracy shouldn't be seen as a once-off event when the electoral cycle begins or ends and a new leadership or crop are elected or retained. Democracy must be sustained to ensure that the ordinary citizen in any nation, right, can feel the material conditions of why a process has taken part. What we have in Africa now is electoral participation without transformation. We don't see how we can translate the actual electoral cycle to be meaningful to the ordinary citizen who may not have voted, the ordinary citizen who may not have participated, because for them, they're fixed on knowing where is my next meal coming from, how am I going to get employed after I'm done with school. And this is where Africa needs to reconfigure what we define as democracy. Somebody spoke about decolonization of the concept of democracy from the way we've known it. What does it then mean now for the African generation?
Okay, thanks for that. I like that you talk a lot about issues of the material conditions, because at the end of the day, it's about what you can put on the table. It's about your access to services. It's about your lived realities. And if we can't connect democracy at that level, then it won't work that well for us. Echeng, you are doing a lot of wonderful work with young people on issues of democracy. I just wanted to understand, what is this that you are working on? What gaps are you trying to cover to promote democracy?
Thank you very much. Essentially, our work is at the intersection of youth, governance, justice, and democracy ultimately. I work in the transitional justice space. Like I explained during my panel, it's essentially working to see how societies that have experienced some of the worst forms of oppression, mass violations of human rights, transition to more stable economies. So a lot of the work that we do is around the advocacy, advocacy to center young people in these conversations. Because really, I think the most logical basis for any conversation around rebuilding societies that have been fragmented is if very easily you mobilize young people in conflict, then you should be able to listen to those same people about what practical solutions they have to bring about change in their society. So a lot of the work that we do, either as a representative of the union or in my personal work as a civil society leader, is seeing how we can advocate for these critical aspects of society, not just having young people in the room, but reclaiming the agency of young people, letting them shape the narratives, letting them drive the conversation, set the agendas, monitor and implement the processes. I think I argue oftentimes that even the older people should take the back seat and provide constructive guidance, but let young people lead the future that they want to live in, essentially. That's it for me.
That's wonderful, and I'm also an advocate for youth participation in issues about democracy, governance, and the like. But you mentioned giving spaces to youth. Can you touch a bit on the how? Sometimes young people are disengaged from processes like town hall meetings. What are the new innovative ways that we can use to get young people to participate more?
I think off the top of my head, I'll tell you digital activism is one way. We have seen young people increasingly use digital spaces to construct narratives, either positively or negatively. So essentially, we want to see in the future where to be able to meaningfully engage youth, I think you just want to see a system that actively leverages the use of social media, digital spaces. To just isolate one example, Kenya, for example, had an entire movement led off TikTok and X, or formerly Twitter. So we see how young people are increasingly advocating and engaging with systems using the social media space. And I don't even want to agree about the narrative that young people are disconnected from it. I was just talking to one of the organizers. I said maybe it's about time we also begin to construe the apathy of young people as protests against a system that consistently has sought their advice, sought their voices only when it was convenient. And then at the end of the day, like I often say, we get jaded with, you're bringing us back into the space. What happens? We've normalized inviting young people to these meetings. Then the agenda is set, and then you just read a script. We see this a lot of time. So I think it's also time for us to reconstruct the understanding of apathy, as you put it, as protests of some sort. It's just a different way to look at the narrative. But a critical space to engage in will be using social media, even going to young people where they are at. To cite one example, in the work that we've engaged with some of our partners in the Gambia. The Gambia was transitioning from a period of mass repression to peace. And the Truth Commission says, beyond just sitting here in this fancy place in Banjul, how can we engage with the young people? In Nigeria, we call them agberos. These are touts, unemployed youths who just sit there, drink, foment trouble. The TRC goes to meet these young people and say, what exactly do you want your society to be like? And you'll be surprised in their broken pidgin English how they articulate a better word for themselves. Right? So let's not even argue that young people are not very conscious about the systems. They are just probably tired.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cheng, and thank you so much, Honorable Ruth. This was the Arena. We've been talking at the GDC Africa Forum on issues of youth participation and our efforts to achieve democracy and good governance.
For my freedom, I'm unstoppable, flying high above.